A top 20 altcoin just lost over $5 billion in market cap. In today's video, we'll be talking about what exactly happened to this altcoin, and we'll also be going over the recent Bitcoin price action and also what you can expect for this upcoming week. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So if you haven't been paying attention to crypto in the past 24 hours, this just happened to OM Mantra, a huge RWA coin, which now lost over $5 billion in market cap, basically in a 1 hour candle. As we can see, this is the weekly chart. We absolutely nuked. This coin was at $9 and we are now sitting below $1 in the span of just under 12 hours. Now, if I look at the 1 hour chart and we really zoom in, we can see that most of this move happened in a 1 hour time frame, dropping literally 80% in 1 hour. This was a huge altcoin. Now, what actually happened? Why did OM drop like this? They just embarrassed the entire RWA space, dropping over 90% as we just went over. Billions gone in under an hour. It wasn't random, it was actually coming. Now, it started with one wallet. There was a massive deposit of just around 3.9 million OM that came onto OKX. That alone raised eyebrows, but when people realized who this wallet belonged to, that is when things got very serious. The wallet was reportedly linked to the OM team. Now, according to their tokenomics, the OM team actually controls around 90% of the total token supply. So when they move tokens, of course, people will start to notice. And just a quick point here, this is why you never want to be speculating on tokens that have that kind of supply distribution. When a team holds around 90% of the supply, it essentially means that they can dump on you at any minute. And while Mantra did have a very nice run, if I zoom out here, from the bottom starting in January all the way up to $9, it was a huge token in the RWA space. You still can't risk it. Always make sure that you're looking at the tokenomics and the supply distribution so this doesn't happen to you. This wasn't the first red flag. The OM community already started losing trust because there was a quiet change in tokenomics, there was delayed airdrops, and there was alleged price manipulation via the market makers. This is another huge red flag. If a team can go ahead and just change the tokenomics instantly, you do not want to be investing in that project. When the OKX deposit happened, of course, panic started to set in. The market noticed, and this was the beginning of the dump over here where we started to see these smaller red candles. And naturally, the selling pressure started to build very fast. But things spiraled even more because of OTC deals. There were rumors that the team made private token deals at huge discounts. Some investors reportedly got in at 50% off or more. That created the perfect storm. Once OM dropped below those discounted prices, OTC buyers started cutting their losses, which you would expect them to do. Retail then followed, fear kicked in, and everyone was racing for the exit in that 1 hour time frame. The chain reaction was brutal. Sell-offs, stop losses triggered, leverage liquidations, and liquidity vanished all in under 60 minutes. And that is when the market collapsed. Over $6 billion gone just like that. It wasn't just a price crash, it was a full ecosystem wipeout, and a lot of the token holders had no idea that this was coming. So what can you learn from this? First of all, as I said, you want to be very cautious about investing in projects where the team holds most of the supply, or just in general when most of the supply is held by one entity. Also when promises get delayed, and also when the price feels too stable. The reason I'm saying this is because if we take a look at the OM chart, even up here, it was relatively stable despite the market-wide correction. This would make you believe, maybe it's holding strong. But with the current tokenomics and how everything played out, it was clearly just a way to manipulate the price before dumping on retail. Now, another thing that you need to consider here is that Mantra definitely took advantage of the RWA narrative. They tried to abuse this as much as possible as a marketing tactic, and it clearly worked because they even announced in the past year that they had some deals with Dubai real estate companies to tokenize $1 to $2 billion worth of assets. But did this actually materialize? Likely not, especially after seeing this recent price action. So be very cautious of teams blatantly lying to you and controlling most of the supply of a token. But in general, a collapse like this still tells me that we are early in the crypto industry, whether you want to believe it or not. I shared the charts in some previous videos, but retail is still very much not here, and it is an institutional game at this point. So if you're still here, listening to content and paying attention to what's happening, you will likely be rewarded in the future. And that reminds me, if you're enjoying the content up until now, make sure you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And the last part of this equation, despite the fact that OM dumped like crazy, we just tracked another transfer into the Binance cold wallet from the Mantra team, likely meaning that they will be dumping some more tokens after this liquidation cascade. So that covers what happened with Mantra. Now let's get into some Bitcoin and some potential tariff talk. First, Bitcoin. Taking a look at the monthly chart, what we can see here is that it's looking like we're trying to form a little bit of a rounded bottom before we could potentially move higher. I always remind you to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. I don't think that this is the end of the cycle quite yet. We formed a massive range last year, and it is possible that we are just going ahead and continuing to form this range. Now, on the smaller time frames, I pointed this out on X this morning, but what we can see here is this huge area of confluence. A bunch of key levels are coinciding, and so this is the most important level that you need to pay attention to, between 86.5 to 87.5K. Just to reiterate, if you're new to the channel, it coincides with the range that we consolidated at before putting in a new all-time high. It also coincides with the 21-week exponential moving average, and it also coincides with the 200-day moving average. So a big barrier here. If we can break above here and hold it as support, I think that Bitcoin will find its way back into the 90K range. But there is also a chance that this could act as resistance, especially with the continued uncertainty in terms of tariffs, and we'll get into that later in this video. But you can see here that this area actually acted as resistance multiple times as well. The question is, will we find our way back up here, get enough fuel to do so, and then move lower? Or can we move up here, hold it as support before potentially moving higher? And as I'm recording this video, we have already started to break out of this huge diagonal trend line, taking it all the way from the top right around $109,000. So the fact that we broke out of this is starting to look positive, but you can see that the last time that we did, which was yesterday on the weekly close, we broke out of it, but we ended up closing below it. Right now we are above it, and let's see if we can target that 86.5 to 87.5K range. That is likely to be the next big milestone for Bitcoin, and it will determine the rest of the crypto market as Bitcoin dominance continues to rise. That also reminds me, if you want to trade this market, you have the first link in my description down below. It brings you directly to Weeks, which is one of the top exchanges that I have been using to trade this market. You also get a 20% deposit bonus, which means that if you deposit, say, $1,000 into your account, you get $200 back for free. You can deposit as high as $10,000 to get $2,000 back for free directly into your account for trading purposes. Also, depending on how much you trade, you can even earn up to $28,000 in bonuses. It's the first link in my description down below, and all you need is an email and a password to sign up. And as I'm recording this video, some huge news just came out that MicroStrategy actually purchased an additional 3,459 Bitcoins between April 7th and April 13th at an average price of $82,600. Now, what hinted to this? Michael Saylor, obviously on his X account, he always hints to when he buys Bitcoin. Here you can see he put out a tweet saying, "No tariffs" on orange dots, showing his Bitcoin accumulation chart. This guy's crazy. He will just keep on buying regardless of the market conditions, regardless of tariffs. So you have to admire this kind of conviction. Now, something else that you want to consider here is that MetaPlanet continues to accumulate Bitcoin, which is a Japanese company that had recently adopted MicroStrategy's Bitcoin accumulation strategy. They just keep on buying. Total now is sitting at around 4,525 Bitcoins. So the big players are still accumulating Bitcoin even at these levels. Now, in terms of short-term trading, what you want to pay attention to are these two liquidation levels. One right around $85,500 to liquidate those shorts, and then right below the current price is right below $84,000. This is another area of interest where we can see there's a lot of liquidity to be had. So let's see. It's likely that we will tap into both of these levels, if I'm being honest, because of the market uncertainty. Yes, we have pumped since the low around $74,500 and then $74,600, marking that kind of double bottom, but we'll have to see if the low is officially in. So far, so good. Also, we can see that pre-market is indeed green for stocks. Now, the stock market opens in a couple hours from now, and what we can see is usually when stocks perform well immediately, Bitcoin will see a pretty sizable pump of its own. Now, in terms of tariffs, it's still not very clear because Trump came out on Truth Social and went on a rant. He basically said that nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade balances and non-monetary tariff barriers that other countries have used against the US, especially not China, which by far treats the US the worst. There was no tariff exemption announced on Friday, so he really ruled that out. These products are subject to the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs, and they are just moving to a different tariff bucket. The fake news knows this, but refuses to report it. We are taking a look at semiconductors and the whole electronic supply chain in the upcoming national security tariffs investigations. What has been exposed is that we need to make products in the United States and that we will not be held hostage by other countries, especially hostile trading nations like China, which will do everything within its power to disrespect the American people. We also cannot let them continue to abuse us on trade like they have for decades. Those days are over. The golden age of America, which includes the upcoming tax and regulation cuts, a substantial amount of which was just approved by the White House and Senate, will mean more and better paying jobs, making products in our nation, and treating other countries, in particular China, the same way that they have treated the US. The bottom line is that our country will be bigger, better, stronger than ever before. We will make America great again. So he is by no means backing off on this tariff talk. And also, we do have the IMF that came out and said that geopolitical risks like trade tensions can trigger sharp stock market corrections and threaten the overall financial stability. They noted that conflict-related risks have surged since 2022, and research shows that major events like wars or terrorism cut global stock returns by about 1% monthly and 2.5% for emerging markets. Military conflicts like Russia's invasion of Ukraine have even larger impacts. The IMF also urged financial institutions to hold more capital, run stress tests, and manage their risks proactively. Something that you need to keep in mind. So I don't necessarily think that we're out of the woodworks yet for Bitcoin. Obviously, if stocks dump from here, Bitcoin will likely follow and even more aggressively, but it's just something that you need to keep in mind. For now, we are seeing a little bit of a short-term rally. And as I said, for today and today only, the pre-market is green for stocks. And so if it continues like this going into the open, I would expect Bitcoin to have a positive day. Unless, as we know, Trump goes ahead and opens his mouth and talks about some more tariffs. And that sums up today's video. OM absolutely tanked with the team selling a ton of the supply, losing over $6 billion in valuation within 12 hours. In the meantime, Trump continues to hold a strong stance with his tariffs, and Bitcoin is trying to break out despite the fact that we have some crucial resistance up ahead. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.